the tape for this, our main event of the evening. We introduce the champion, Chris, the West Side Strangler Brennan. Let's get it on!
What's up, guys? We're here to go over Bellator 291 in Dublin, Ireland.
5 fights on this one that we're going to go over on the main card. The first one, Kieran Clark and Leonardo Sinis. We got one coming in at 6-0, and the other 11. Leonardo's coming in at 11-5-1.
Yeah, Kieran Clark's good. He's a Bellator guy. He's been, I think, all his fights have been in Bellator, 6-0. He's a guy who I've been watching a lot. I believe him and Lucas will run into each other at some point.
Okay.
He is out of SBG Ireland, where Connor trains, and my friend John Kavanaugh is the coach.
Nice.
Good guy, good submissions. I don't know what belt he is in jiu-jitsu. He looks good. He's been tested already in a couple of his fights, where one fight I thought he was losing and about to lose, and then pulled off a rear naked choke literally at the end of the third. I think it was the end of the third. The other guy, Leonardo Sinis, I do not know anything about this guy. He doesn't even have a picture on the lineup.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
It's at a catch weight of 147 point something. And they have the guy listed at 150 and Kieran at 145. So I'd imagine he's the one coming down to the catch weight, since Kieran Clark fights at 145.
So does that, we've talked about this, I mean, we saw this last time we called a UFC one with Volkanovski. Since Kieran doesn't have to cut as much, is he going to have more energy? You feel like that's an advantage for him to be not cutting as much and fighting at a higher weight?
Sure. It's only, he's 2.5 pounds, but literally the last 2.5, 3 pounds are the hardest during the cut.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he'll feel good at that weight. The other guy, I don't know what he walks at, so he may only be cutting a little bit to get to 47. If it says 150, but he's either a 55er or he's a 45er. Those are the two weight classes right there. So whatever he decides, whatever he walks around at will be, if he has a lot to cut, sure, he's gonna be a little more drained than Kieran for sure.
Sinis does come in. He's got some experience. I'm pulling up his record right now. I don't recognize a lot of these. MCP is one of the promotions.
Where's he from?
Greece,
yeah.
And it looks like, RFN, I've seen a lot of, this is his first time obviously getting into a larger promotion.
How's he winning when he's winning?
Submission. His last 2 wins are submissions, and then he has 3 losses, TKO, and a unanimous decision. 2 wins before that are TKO and a rear naked, submission. This guy's
all right.
Almost every win except for one has been by submission.
So he might be a decent test for Kieran, depending on the quality of the guys that this guy's fought.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. It'll be a good step up for him. It's about that time. He's at 6-0. Luke's at 7-0, and he's there now. Luke's about to fight a guy that's 4-1 in Bellator.
Okay.
So we'll get that step up at the same time, basically.
It's interesting that Leonardo, his nickname is Pitbull, and I kind of feel like you can't do that.
Yeah, there's so many Pitbulls at this point.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like, and I'm not saying that he's not good, but
right.
I feel like you might have to earn that one a little bit more.
Especially fighting the same organization as the Pitbull brothers.
That's right. So do you have a feeling one way or another on this?
I'm going to go with Kieran Clark. I just feel, he's the guy that's being built up right now. I'm sure John Kavanaugh has watched this guy, and they're prepared properly for him. So I'd imagine that I hope that's a fight we get one day. I'm not sure that it would be accepted on the other side.
Kieran?
John. John knows Lucas's capabilities.
Okay. No, but the fight you were looking for was Lucas and Kieran.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good one, but I'm not sure. I'm not looking forward ever to fighting any of his guys, any of the Kamakas, my friends in Hawaii.
Absolutely.
Any of those guys that we're tight with. So, but once you're inside the top 10, there's not a lot you can do about it. You can kind of hop over them a little bit, or they can hop over you until you get closer to the top 5, and then it's going to happen.
It's a small pool. There's not a lot of room there. So I did notice when we were looking at all these, with the exception of the main event, all of these fights, including the women's fight that we're going to talk about next, is right at 145, 150, which is
there's even two fights on the undercard of 45ers that one I would for sure like to fight, maybe within the next year.
Okay.
And then the other, there's actually two. There's another guy from SPG with John Kavanaugh, who's a good fighter, and then another one who's from, I want to say he's from France or someone, but I think he also trains at SPG with John Kavanaugh. Yeah.
Okay.
So if we ever end up fighting over there on that Dublin card because of my gyms in Liverpool or in England and Ireland, I'd imagine they're going to give us somebody from John's gym, just because they've got the best guys over there that are fighting in Bellator.
It's exciting. It's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
It'll be fun.
It's pretty cool. Sinead Kavanaugh and Janae Harding. This is a featherweight bout, 145. Sinead's coming in at 8-5. Janae Harding 6-7. So you don't see a losing record very often. In Bellator.
I honestly thought she'd have been cut when she lost to Leah McCourt. Sinead fights also out of SBG at John Kavanaugh's gym. They have a lot of people.
Guy's got a stable.
He has a great, that's where Connor's from.
Yeah.
They have a great gym, and they are in Dublin, Ireland, and that's where the fight's at. So they're putting, butts in the seats for sure.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm going to go. Janae Harding is tough, and she's a big girl. She's tall. I think they're fighting at 45.
I think, yeah.
That's a tough one. Neither of the records is great.
Yeah,
Sinead is
8-5, and Sinead is 8-5, and then Janae's, like I said, 6-7.
Yeah, so I would imagine that both of them's job is on the line. I imagine that both of their jobs are on the line on that night for sure.
Yeah, and I'm looking. You said Danae Silva was her last loss. Leah McCourt. I mean, it looks like she did beat Jessie Miley out in back in 2020, but
she's on a 3-fight skid.
2 fights skid.
2.
Yeah. Potentially third.
I think she's I don't know if it's her or Leah is a judo black belt or like a judo player, and so that might be her thing. I'm not sure. Her and Leah were back and forth, but Leah beat her. And Leah's now training in Liverpool with Paul Rimmer with my guys at the NG. She'll be on our card actually when we fight in California.
So when you look at the bio for Janae, she's listed as a karate black belt and a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Okay.
So I think the other person might have been.
Might have been, yeah. So that'd be Leah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like you said, both are fighting for their job here.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I'm gonna go with Sinead, I think. Again, for the reason of preparation. I'm not sure where Janae trains. I think she might actually train at City Boxing in is she from New Zealand or Australia?
She's from Australia.
Australia.
Sydney, by the way. Oh, I'm looking right here. King's Academy.
Okay, so she's in California. Originally, I think she was training with all the guys out of Sonya, Volkanovski, all those guys. But I think she's in California now and training at King's MMA. So I'll go with Sinead.
Cool. Third fight on this one, and this is these are 55ers.
Yeah.
Peter Quayle and Bryce Logan. Peter Quayle's 13-7 with a no contest, and Bryce Logan's coming in at 12-7.
Bryce Logan's a 4-time All-American wrestler, D1 from the United States. Peter Quayle is also out of SBG Ireland with John Kavanaugh. His no contest was a cut. Maybe not. He lost and won against Patricky Pitbull, the 55er.
Whoa.
Yeah. But I think he split his head open on one of them, and I don't. If it was a legal elbow, then that's the one he won.
Quayle's got a win against
Patricky.
Patricky.
Yeah, the 55er. He's tough, man. He's tough, and he's pretty long for that weight. I think he's 5'11".
Yeah, he's listed at 5'10".
Okay.
And Bryce is coming in at 5'8".
Okay, so Bryce is my height. I'm gonna go with Bryce Logan.
Okay.
Only because the wrestling Peter Queally is also good at, though. We talked on the last podcast about if you have a guy in your close guard and you lace the outside of his legs, you can extend them and bring his head down.
Yep.
He does that and drops those elbows
Yeah.
to the top of the head. He's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's what cut
But
Pitbull.
that's the 3 to 9 we were talking about, right?
And that he cut Pitbull with that. Bad enough they stopped the fight. So I'm gonna go with Bryce Logan.
Yeah, that's
What's Bryce's record?
Bryce is coming in at 12-7.
12-7.
So it's 12-7 and 13-7. I mean,
yeah, they're basically the same.
you know, if you look at Peter Queally, I'm just trying to see if there's anybody else here noteworthy. Bryce is coming off a 3-fight skid.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. So I don't know if that
Queally has
changes.
fought good guys. He's fought a lot of good guys in Bellator.
Yep. So, and again, this will forever rue me. You're right. Patricky was doctor stoppage.
Okay.
For the cut. And then that was in May of 2021. They came back in November of 21, and Pitbull beat him in the second round, TKO. And then he lost to Benson Henderson in September.
Good fight. That was a really good, close fight.
It was a decision. It was unanimous, but
Yeah.
it was a decision that he lost. So I like that you're taking Bryce on this one. Is it just because you like the style? I mean, he seems to be a little bit of an underdog on this one.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, to be honest, I could be wrong on this fight only because Quealy's fought high caliber guys. I don't know that Bryce has fought the caliber of opponents that Peter has. If you go down, you go ahead and look at Bryce. If I look at Quealy's opponents in Bellator, Benson Henderson, Patricky Pitbull, Miles Price, he's tough, and Patricky Pitbull again. Yeah.
I might give you another stat that might change your mind.
Okay.
Bryce Logan's 0-3 in Bellator.
He trains out of Fight Ready. Fight Ready is the Cejudo's gym in Arizona.
Okay.
And I don't know how long he's been there, but I'm still going with him. I'm going for the upset. He's going to get his first win in Bellator.
I mean, and you got to think he's fighting for his job.
100%.
I mean,
100%.
0-3 right now.
I also think that he may not have been at Fight Ready the whole time in his career, and maybe is now gone there, and they've got him ready.
So, fight 1 in Bellator, split decision loss. Fight 2 in Bellator, unanimous decision loss. Fight 3 in Bellator that just happened June of 2022. KO'd with a minute into round 1. It was 107. Mandel Nalo.
Yeah, Mandel Nalo. He's on our card as well.
Okay.
What's really weird to me is being a 4-time All-American wrestler and losing decisions, right? Like, if you beat one of those guys, you typically got to stop them. Otherwise, they're on top the whole time,
Sure.
right? They're dominating the position. They would win the decision.
Sure.
So, yeah, I'm going with the upset.
Wow.
I'm going to stick with it.
All right. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Put all your money on it.
No. All right. I think this is probably a co-main event. Pedro Carvalho and Jeremy Kennedy. Pedro Carvalho is 13-6. This is another featherweight fight. And Jeremy Kennedy's coming in at 18-3.
So these are guys in front of us in the rankings. Jeremy Kennedy's the one that just beat Aaron Pico off the shoulder injury. Unfortunately for that guy, he didn't switch places with Aaron in the rankings. He still stayed behind him in the rankings, I guess because everyone went off it was an injury, but it was a win for him. Pedro Carvalho has fought the who's who of this division. He is
Mads Burdell.
Yeah.
Piotr. There's no way I'm gonna get that dude's name right. I don't know if you recognize that guy, but I'm not even gonna try with that one. There's a lot of consonants in that one.
Nah.
All right. So Daniel Weichel, J.J. Wilson, Pitbull.
Patricio Pitbull. Sam Silica, Derek Campos, who's also a stud. Yeah, he's fought a lot of tough guys in Bellator. Daniel Weichel, beat Daniel Weichel.
When you look at something like when he went up against Patricio, he only lasted 2 minutes and 10 seconds into the first round.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that Pitbull got lucky, but when you start seeing a finish that quickly, can you really learn anything from a finish that quickly? Or I mean, I know you can get lucky, you can catch somebody. Is there anything to learn there?
I mean, it depends. If the guy went out and was striking with Pitbull, 100%. You know, he'll capitalize on his big overhand or his big hook.
Yeah.
It's typically, you know, the straight or the hook. I would venture to say Jeremy Kennedy is going to be the better wrestler. He's a damn good wrestler. He took down Aaron, and that's what ended up hurting Aaron's shoulder in the first place, Pico. But Jeremy Kennedy's a stud. He's a good wrestler, and I think he wins this fight. I think he wins. I think he finishes this fight.
I think I remember that fight. I think
When they were trying to yank his shoulder and put it back in.
Oh, I totally remember that.
Yeah,
fight.
that was Jeremy Kennedy that was fighting Aaron Pico at that time.
Yeah. And
But he took him down, got
Yes.
behind him, you know, and on the takedown, I believe it was the first takedown.
it was his
shoulder
left
happened.
shoulder, and he
Yes.
reached back in it, and you could see that it. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
remember that fight.
And so then he spent the whole round like a savage trying to put his own shoulder back in, and he finished the round, went back to the corner,
And
and they
they're
were trying to yank
yanking
it
on
back
it.
in. Then he stood up and was trying to get them to let him fight,
Yep.
and they
Yep.
weren't letting him fight. So he had surgery. He's already back training, and I believe he's either scheduled already or about to be scheduled.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Jeremy Kennedy's a stud. I'm going with Jeremy Kennedy handily over Pedro Carvalho,
Wow.
who's also out of SBG Ireland.
So it's like when they went to Perth and half the card was
Right.
Aussies.
Yeah, this guy's from Brazil,
Okay.
but he's been at SBG Ireland for a long time.
Awesome.
It's tough.
Main event of the evening, and we were talking about this before we hit record. Logan Storley,
Yep.
and then Amosov.
Yep.
Tell me,
Miroslav Amosov.
Yeah.
He's a stud, man. So Logan Storley, great American wrestler.
Yep.
Trains an American top team. We've been on a card with him before when he fought. I forget who he fought, but he was injured at the end of the fight. His leg got jacked up, and we were hanging out with him and Robbie Lawler in the cafeteria at Mohegan-Sun.
That's
Lawler
sweet.
was coaching him.
Sweet.
And so he's very tough. He's a very good wrestler. These guys have fought before, and it was a split decision for Amosov. I talked to someone yesterday whose name I'll leave out of this that said he thought Logan Storley won the fight.
Okay. That was November 2020.
Yeah, I didn't see the fight. Logan Storley is a stud wrestler. Amosov was a champion, or is the champion. He lives in Ukraine. As soon as all the bombing started, he saw, and he had video of it, out his window, the chaos. He'll load his family up, drove hours and hours away out of town, and took them somewhere. Then, in his head, he wanted to go back and fight. He went back into town, and I believe they have all been in the military or have to go through
there's
some sort of military.
compulsory.
He was
military
back
service.
in, and man, everyone was praying for him for a long time. And there's a cool video, and I'm sure it was a photo op of some sort, but he's full gear in the field climbing out of a hole, and he's got the Bellator belt over his shoulder. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, he's now back and back in action. He's a stud, man. I don't know what his training's been like. You know, it hasn't been that long since he's been back at it. And I know Logan Storley's coming off of a boring win over Michael Venom Page that Scott Coker was literally freaking out over the win because how boring it was. You know, he was. But at the same time, he was fighting a guy that if he didn't fight that way, he was going to get knocked
Yeah,
out.
and it was a split decision.
Right.
So
It shouldn't have been a split decision. He did dominate him, but it was boring. But I don't know when you have such a significant advantage one way and the other guy has a significant advantage the other way, you have to fight him your way or it was gonna be a loss, right? And that was for the interim belt, and he did what he had to do to win.
sounds like Carlin Rose.
Yeah, I mean, that was neither one of them tried. Neither one of them did what they had to do to win. They just had to give somebody the win.
Yeah.
But he's a good wrestler. Amasov, also a great wrestler. You know,
Amasov is number 4 on the pound for pound ranking.
Yeah. He's been the champ for a long time. His record is what, 26-0.
26-0.
Yeah, 26-0. Never suffered a defeat. He Logan Sorley's record.
Let me pull it up here. 14-1.
14-1.
And his only loss is a split decision to Amasov.
Can you tell me, did he have I thought he had a stint in the UFC, but maybe he didn't.
No.
Nothing?
Nope.
Okay.
Not listed.
I figured once you said 14-1 that he hadn't. Otherwise, he'd still be there.
You know, and I don't know what you make on the pound for pound. We talked a little bit after the last fight. But ahead of him is Patricio, Vadim Nemkov, and AJ McKee, 3 stud fighters.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the pound-for-pound ranking is always going to be kind of
subjective?
Yes, kind of subjective because, you know, more than half of those guys, maybe 3/4 of those guys will never fight each other.
Yeah.
Right? They're all in different weight classes. Some of them are 3 and 4 weight classes apart.
Yep.
So that's never going to be a thing. So it's kind of like, who's the GOAT, right? Is it GSP? Is it Anderson Silva, who stuck around too long and started losing a lot? But at the time he was.
Yeah.
Same for Fedor. You know, he was on a 10-year win streak.
Yep.
Then whatever. So you can say, like, for that time he was the GOAT. But overall, you know, if you look at it, it's got to be someone like GSP, like John Jones, like Khabib.
I was just going to ask you to put Khabib in
there.
there.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of people have a hard time with Khabib's 29-0 because they only put, like, 5 fighters, maybe 6 that are
top guys.
Yeah,
he had a lot of guys that were not top guys. He did destroy most of the guys that were the top guys. But it's just it's a tough call on who you pick for that. GSP had 2 losses. One was to Matt Hughes, he redeemed it. One was to Matt Hume, he redeemed it. You know, John Jones' only loss is a DQ for an illegal elbow. So there's something to be said for guys who are the GOAT in their time.
Yep.
And then they're, you know, I think the only way you can do it is like the 170 GOAT, the 185 GOAT, the 205 GOAT. An overall guy is just hard to say unless it's like, I mean, to be honest, you can even look at someone like Dan Henderson. If you look at Dan Henderson's record, he has a lot of losses, most of them later in the career, but he fought literally everybody from 185 to 205 to heavyweight. He was a champion, I believe, in Pride. He was a champion, I believe, maybe not in the UFC, but I think he was. Yeah, he just, you know, he's a guy that went through every list of every name of guy you know and had beat everyone, lost to some, but he's at least got to be in the conversation a little bit.
You know, I've seen comparisons in basketball that you look at.
Michael Jordan, there's no comparison.
Michael Jordan, end of story. You got LeBron right now. You got Michael before him, and then you can talk about maybe Kareem or somebody, and they talk about generations. And especially in basketball, they talk a lot about how the game has changed, and it's really hard to compare players in different generations because the game has changed a lot. Would you make a parallel comparison in the UFC that the fighting game has changed, going back to maybe GSP or, you know, maybe even Dan Henderson, and now obviously there's been a lot of changes, but maybe even going back to GSP, has the sport changed a lot?
Yeah, I mean, the rules haven't changed much. You know, the athletes just continue to get better and better and better,
right?
And have all the resources to train, you know, in every spot of recovery and every strength conditioning facet, like everything they can do. And it's been there for quite a while. GSP was the most fit, strong, you know, athletic guy, period.
Still is.
Yeah, he is a freak. Still does gymnastics and stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So it's changed, but like, if you want to go back to basketball again real quick, just because I'm a Jordan fan, you see memes of the comparisons of what Michael Jordan did to what LeBron did.
Yeah.
And it comes down to six championships, two three-peats. That guy has what, one? Two now?
He might have. I think he went to like 9 in a row, and he's got 3, maybe 3. LeBron, I think
Not 3. I'm almost positive not 3, just because they just posted that thing the other day. And I want to say it was only 2, and
it might be. He got one in Miami, and then he's got one as a Laker, and that.
Michael Jordan says finals lost 0.
Yeah.
Finals lost 6 or something, maybe
7. Something like that, yeah.
And finals won 6. Finals lost or won. It's 1 or 2, and so as an individual player, it's hard to say, I guess, but I think Michael Jordan just played a different game than LeBron James plays.
Yeah, absolutely.
You gonna look it up?
Yeah, I was gonna see if I could pull it up really quick. By the way, the right answer is Michael Jordan. So
thank you. I used to work at Dan Marley's. Dan Marley used to play for the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
And I worked in his bar when the Phoenix Suns and the Bulls were in the playoffs together.
Okay.
And I was in the bar cheering for the Bulls.
Yeah.
In Phoenix, didn't go over well.
No.
But I was just for Michael Jordan, and man, it was Jordan, Pippen, like those guys were the savages back then.
Yeah. Unfortunately, growing up in Seattle, the Sonics ran into the '96 Bulls, and it wasn't fair. Yeah, I'm not. I'd have to go through and look. I'm sure our listeners will tell us what the correct stat is.
I'm sure they will.
But no, he's got 4. Just says right here: 2 with the Miami Heat, 1 with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and 1 with the Lakers. So he is
just
4
a hater.
out of 10. He's lost 6 finals and he's won 4, but he went to like 9 in a row or something like that. But if Wikipedia is correct, and that sounds right to me, that he's got 4.
Fine.
Sorry. So, but enough basketball. So we didn't go back and say who do you have for this order? Are you taking Amosov?
So this is one of my heart goes with Amosov. It's tough. It's a tough call because I feel like Logan Storley has probably been training for this fight for a much longer. He's kind of understands his game of what he's approaching, what he's got in front of him. Amosov was fighting in the war, right? He's now back training for the fight.
Yeah. I
don't know how long he's been back in the gym training for the fight, if it's been long enough, if the time off was too long. I don't think it was that long, but it had to be at least last year sometime that he fought, maybe a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And so if I'm that's tough because Logan Storley has 1 loss.
To
Amosov
him,
has 0. Like, this is a big fight. This is a big fight.
Yeah.
Can you see? I'll look right now. Amosov's last fight.
I could have pulled that up.
Was June 11th, 2021. So it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
Right by the time they fight, it's almost 2 years.
In 2001, Seattle Mariners made it to the postseason, and the first team they ran up against were the New York Yankees 2 weeks after 9/11.
Oh.
The whole country was pulling for the Yankees.
Sure.
The Yankees won, I think, in 6. And I kind of think about this where it's like,
right.
I don't know who's going to win, but it's hard not to pull for Asimov because he's fighting for his country and serving.
For sure.
How do you root against that?
And not to get political, but he's definitely got a lot of money behind him now.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. And it makes you wonder, like, what kind of training is he? What kind of shape is he in just being a soldier? I mean,
right.
I'm sure he's not fueling himself well, but
right.
I'm sure that his cardio and strength is probably going. I would think that he'd be at a high level of physicality,
fitness, yeah.
just because he's been training and fighting.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Amosov pulls it off, but I think Storley might pull it off.
Yeah, I get that, and it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
And then I hope there's a rematch.
Well,
They'd
so
be
if
1-1.
so if Storley does win, then they'd be 1-1, and then you've got to get the rubber match out of that for sure. So
Especially since both guys have the belt.
So, and I did know this show's Saturday, so this will be on
cool.
Saturday night. So if you're tuning into Showtime, Saturday night is when.
Awesome. In Dublin, right?
In Dublin.
Cool. Thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week for a recap.
It is all over, just like that.